No, you can't give him that. No, too many pouches. Where's his feet? Same faces, same faces. Grifter! Oh my god, what a nightmare. Rob Liefeld just won every single award in the first YouTube comic book community Best of 2012 awards. Oh. Hey everybody, it's me, GhostCritic, and we have finally reached that moment. Yes, you've been flooding my personal message inbox with your nominations for the very first GhostCritic YouTube Comic Book Community Best of 2012 Awards. I've collated and added up and raised a few eyebrows occasionally at some of your nominations, but hey, they're your favourites. And well, I guess what we have here are the results. Some people have asked me to add my kind of what I would have voted along with the nominations. I'll do that for you. There are going to be some kind of honourable mentions, but you will get your top 3 for each category. And I'll be honest, there were some very tight votings going on, and although every single nomination that got to number 1 did get to number 1 on its own, second and third I've basically had to throw my vote in to not have a tie. So there we have it. So let's get on with the awards. So we begin with Best Cover of 2012. Yes, that cover on the comic book shelf really has to grab the eye if we're going to be lured into buying it. So it has to be pretty special and worth our eye contact. And basically you lot couldn't decide very well on this one, and we had a whole heap of comic book covers in the mix. So honourable mentions this time go to Walking Dead issue 100, Chew 24, Hawkeye issue 1. You couldn't decide which was the best Saga cover, but lots of nominations for Saga. Thank you to Agent 42Q, who thought My Little Pony issue 1, I think it's the Rainbow Dash variant, that was his favourite cover. She'll vote. She'll vote. Keeping the Brit Comics alive, Mr. Addy75 gave us 2000 AD prog, because we call our issues prog, not issues, 1804. So go and check those covers out to see what was pretty good. But you want the top 3. Top 3, we've got at number 3, J.H. Williams, not only doing fantastic panelling work and layouts inside, he was also giving us some pretty fine artwork on the front of the covers too. And the one that grabbed your attention the most was Batwoman issue 14. Number 2 was the very last issue of the current run of Punisher, issue 16 by Mark Cicchetto. That kind of white skull background, and Punisher, Frank Castle and Cole Alvis knelt on the floor in a basically sea of blood. Great cover. But at number 1, and yes, for those who are asking, it is going to be a 3 in a row for Daredevil. In particular, it was issue 10 that really made your eyes pop out. Yes, it's the Paulo Rivera one with Daredevil lying on the floor, Mole Man over him, and you've kind of got the radar lines. It's almost very kind of creepy, eerie, the horror magazines, comics kind of esque, but definitely my top choice, and was yours too. So we're on to the best single issue of 2012, and yes, it's that one story, that one issue that was just had your jaws dropping, shocked, cliffhangers, the works, you know, that really stood out for you in 2012. Again, the nominations were quite varied, but there were certainly 3 leaders of the pack. Honourable mentions, you couldn't really decide what Batman issue was the best this year. So a slew of nominations for practically every single Batman issue that came out. Swamp Thing got a few for various issues. Another series, you couldn't decide what was the best one, that was Saga. The final issue of Fantastic Four got a vote. Well done, Mr. Captain Cummins, you got it in there. Wonder Woman issue 12, give that an honourable mention, bringing back the new gods to our new 52. And also Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles got a vote. The micro-series Donatello version. But you want the top 3. So at number 3, the only category that had a tie. I couldn't break this down because, well, basically my number 1 was all your number 1s. So at number 3, tied, we have Walking Dead issue 100. Frankenstein, Alive, Alive 2. We waited long enough for it. It still got your vote. And in joint 3rd place was Wolverine and the X-Men, issue 17. Alred on artwork and a dupe-centred story. So at number 2, Batman 13. Start of the death of the family story arc that we're currently going through. It was pretty jaw-droppingly scary, creepy, frightening, and a blockbuster start to the current event that's going on. Number 1, what could it be? Well, it was turning you upside down, inside out, turning your comic book left, right and centre. Batman issue 5. Snyder, coupled with Greg Capullo, had us quite mystified and going on our own little journey with Batman's drug-induced labyrinth journey through the Court of Owls. A great issue, well worth its place at number 1. Okay, so what happens when you put all those single issues together? You make a great story arc. And there was basically 3 clear leaders and winners in this category. But that's not to say there wasn't a lot of variety within the nominations and within our honourable mentions. We had some votes for I, Vampire, Rise of the Vampire story arc. The last, for me, best story arc from Amazing Spider-Man, we got ourselves Spider Island. Rotworld got a few nominations in there. Animal Man and Swamp Thing's meandering tale through the rot has got some of us pretty much hooked. And it was really nice to see this series in here, It's Morning Glories, the last story arc, P.E. But it's the top 3 time. At number 3, the story arc may have really only just started, spanning the whole of the Bat universe, but you lot are already hooked on Death of the Family. At number 2, narrowly missing out on number 1. You all loved this series this year, me included. It was Saga, first 6 issues. And finally, at number 1, you all flocked to this first Batman event that crossed over on all the titles. It was, of course, Court of Owls. Yes, the kind of dark history past of Gotham, and it was in fact these Talons, the owls, that have been pulling all the strings, and Batman's fight against them, obviously. On to best mini-series of 2012. Yes, the companies aren't happy just having an ongoing series to take our hard-earned cash from. They put out a few mini-series that maybe last 3, 4, 5 or 6 issues long and tell like a story just in that kind of capsule. This was a tough category. I don't really know how many people get mini-series, but there was certainly a slew of nominations for this, so just completely at random. Honourable mentions go to Deadpool Kills the Universe, Kirby Genesis. There was a few miniseries from Star Wars that came out, Blood Ties and a Darth Vader one. And finally, for our honourable mentions, Rocketeer, Cargo of Doom, Mark Waid and Chris Samney, Super Team. But your top three, and shame on me, I didn't get any of these last year, so might be a clue. At number 3, it was Before Watchmen, The Silk Spectre. Yes, Before Watchmen had quite a lot of miniseries come out this year, coming in with a lot of trepidation as readers here in the comic book community, but The Silk Spectre seemed to be the one that fitted best with you guys. At number 2, our Earth 616 universe met the Ultimate Universe, and we got Spider-Men. Can't really say much about that. Not read it. And at number 1, a mini-series that I'm going to be picking up for certain after all the great reviews in trade. It is Punk Rock Jesus from Vertigo. Again, I can't really say much about it because I didn't read it. For me, and I can't believe no one nominated for this, but I absolutely loved Space Punisher this year. I think I've said it in practically every one of my reviews. I just felt like I was a kid again going on a Saturday morning movie journey, and it was just fantastic fun. But none of the rest of you liked it. You rubbish. So not only do we enjoy reading about our comic book superheroes and characters, but there's nothing better than seeing them right in the comfort of your own home on your TV, or in a huge room, in a dark, huge room. A huge dark room surrounded by strangers. I think they call it a cinema. Yes, this is the best comic book related movie or TV show. Very, very close to begin with, and then something skyrocketed and clear leader. This was the category that actually had the fewest variety of nominations. You had some very clear ideas of what you loved, but there were some other nominations that didn't quite win, and they belonged to Dark Knight Returns, the animated version, Part 1, Smallville Season 11, Young Justice Invasion, and Superman vs. Elite. But what came in at number 3? Well, it was, of course, Robert Kirkman's reimagining on the television of his huge image series, The Walking Dead. Now, number 2 and number 1 fought for a long, long time, and I was going, yes, 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 it's gonna win, it's gonna win. But unfortunately, towards the end, you all voted for number 1, and I only managed to watch, funnily enough, the nomination at number 2 last night, and that was Dark Knight Rises. I haven't seen the number 1 yet. It was obviously The Avengers, or as we Brits had to rename it, Avengers Assemble. But that was a clear winner towards the end with the majority of the votes. Well done to the Avengers. So comics don't all just come out of the big 2, Marvel and DC. There is a slew of independent companies out there that are vying for your attention and putting out a great creative output. So here we go with best indie series of the year. Why am I laughing? This really was almost appalling. pointless exercise. You all know what's won. Do I really need to do this? Despite the title that's at number 1 was a clear leader by miles, there were some others. And funnily enough, number 2 actually got 2 votes. Number 3, everything else tied. So hopefully I haven't missed any of these out, but in joint third you had The Boys, Manhattan Project, Mind the Gap, Rachel Rising, Fables, Atomic Robo, Prophet and Sixth Gun. Now I'm sorry if I missed any out, but there was a clear leader. Fortunately, at number 2, another great Image title that's just recently come out. We liked our rural noir. It was, of course, Revival. The kind of zombie with a twist storyline in the countryside, which is always nice. But number 1, shall we all say it together? 1, 2, 3, Saga! Of course it was. It was, I think, the highlight for pretty much the full comic book community. It's kind of sci-fi, Shakespearean, fantasy, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, everything. There was just a slew of imagination brought to this book from Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. And really, if you aren't picking this title up, you must be dead. Now we move on to those heavy hitter categories. We starting with the eye candy category. Yes, it's best artist. Those people, whether they be the men or the ladies, that have really treated our eyes to some beautiful artwork and visual techniques. Honourable mentions go to Andrea Sorrentino for his work on I, Vampire. Stuart Immonen got a few votes, his recent work on All New X-Men. Scotty Young and those baby covers really put a smile on your faces this year. Chris Samney, work on Cargo of Doom, Rocketeer and Daredevil has picked up a few votes. And finally in the honourable mentions, Paulo Rivera with his work on, well, everywhere really he seemed to be on. But top 3. He was sending you Batty. That's so cheesy, but I'm going to use it anyway. It was Greg Capullo on Batman. He's been just doing a really creepy, well-detailed, action-packed, really kind of high-energy artwork on Batman with Scott Snyder, so great to see him at least in the top 3. Probably one of the finest artists with the most imagination for what he puts into his comic books, with his layouts and his panelling. Who am I talking about? Of course, it's J.H. William III. And at number 1, you couldn't have got a more varied top 3 in kind of styles of art here. But she certainly made an impression on us this year. How closely she works with Brian K. Vaughan in creating the characters that appear in Saga. She does an absolutely phenomenal job. It is, of course, our favourite of the year, Fiona Staples. Okay, so we're on to the storytellers of our comic book world and universes. Yes, it's Best Writer of 2012, and honourable mentions this time go to Jeff Lemire. His work on Animal Man and Sweet Tooth, amongst other things, have really got you interested. Brian Wood's been a busy man this year. He's been working on Ultimate X-Men, among many other things. Rick Remender, great work on The Punisher. Unfortunately, no more, but hey-ho. Gail Simone, she got herself a couple of votes. And, well, someone might have upset quite a few people and was the reason why he only got 1 vote this year, and that was a certain Mr. Dan Slott. But at number 3, he rejuvenated Daredevil for us. He brought his work to an independent title. I think it was IDW, with his Rocketeer, Cargo of Doom. He came in at number 3. It is, of course, Mark Waid. At number 2, his book may have got Best Indie Series of the Year with your votes, but he only came number 2 in our nominations. It is, of course, Brian K. Vaughan. So, number 1, by a huge margin, it is, of course, Scott Snyder. Another very busy guy this year. Probably got most of his votes because of his great work on Batman, but he has been writing Swamp Thing, he's been doing American Vampire. The guy has been busy and the quality of his work hasn't slipped in the slightest. Penultimate category now, and it is one of the big ones. It's ongoing series. Which title has been the best for you throughout the whole of 2012? Well, ongoing series. Image certainly had a few in there along the way with Chew and Invincible. Wonder Woman, Swamp Thing and Animal Man had you all eager for the next issue. And also Earth 2 got a few votes in there. So ongoing series, you want the top 3. At number 3, Mark Waid just brought a little bit more lightness to the series after being dragged down to the depths of depression. It is, of course, Daredevil. Number 2, again, very tightly fought category here, but it won Indie, it got second writer, it got best artist. It is, of course, Saga. But at your number 1 top spot, it has absolutely just been a joy to read every single issue of this new series, written by Scott Snyder, drawn by Greg Capullo. It's had 2 huge major events already in only like a year. How cool is that? It's a corpse Batman. Okay, so it's the one the publishing companies all want to know. They really want to win this one. They want your votes. There was really here only a 3-horse race. Though, thank you Mr. Addy75 for throwing in a Brit publication house, Rebellion, who put out 2000 AD and the Judge Dredd magazine. But really, it's only 3 in the race. So, at number 3 was Marvel. At number 2, DC. Yes, their New 52 couldn't quite push them into number 1, but it has to be this year. Image as the number 1, in your opinion, best publishing house of 2012. It just brought out such a slew of great, imaginative, creative comic book titles for us to read, and we jumped on board. Image is certainly making themselves a contender for the big 2's crown, and I hope they just go on and on to much bigger and better things in 2013. Okay, that's it. We're all done and dusted here. It just leaves me to say thank you very much, and I do sincerely mean this. Everybody within the comic book community who took the time out of their busy lives and their schedules, work, I know it's Christmas, and getting prepared for it all, but you all took the time to send me a personal message with all your nominations. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I know I've had one hell of a time, fun time, making it, And before anyone mentions it, yes, I know that behind me, one, it's all Marvel, but DC don't do a calendar. And two, I know it's kind of slightly off kilter. I didn't have a spirit level. My walls are wonky. What can I say? Apart from goodbye, thank you very much again. And here's to 2013, where hopefully we'll have another great year of comics. Bye everyone.